Do what must be done. Do not hesitate. Show no mercy.
There is chaos in LA. Many people are protesting the ICE raids, the removal of illegal immigrants from this country, and there is destruction, there is fire, and there is looting. It is domestic terrorism. And we've already covered a story of a Disney shill who was invited to Lucasfilm to meet with Dave Filoni, to meet with Leslie Headland, to engage in the sex parties that included the Grogu doll. Fake News Kyle Katarn. Fake News Kyle Katarn made a post celebrating someone destroying a Cybertruck. And what's the reason why this person destroyed a Cybertruck? It's because they didn't like Elon Musk, who is linked to the current president, Donald Trump. But this story in LA, it is taking it to a much bigger level. This reminds us of the summer of love of 2020, when everyone cried and protested and destroyed $1 billion worth of property over some guy who died of a drug overdose. Nothing makes sense when it comes to these people, and who do you think aligns with them in almost every way? The Disney shills! The Disney shills are all for domestic terrorism.
It's established that they're refugees hiding out on this world without a visa, which, look, I know Tony Gilroy is insisting that Andor is meant to be timeless, and I know that refugees are unfortunately a timeless problem. Not to mention, all of this was written and shot before the most recent election and all that bullshit that's happened since.
And we have another account from the famous Disney shill photo at Lucasfilm, Star Wars Sexplained. Star Wars Sexplained made a tweet today comparing the LA riots to Andor. If you watched Andor, you know what's going on in Los Angeles right now. The monster will come for us all soon enough. Star Wars Sexplained, Disney's top Disney shill promoting domestic terrorism. And to make it even worse, they are using the show Andor as an example. And all the people cried when we said that Andor was communist propaganda. Not communist propaganda. Look what the communists are pushing now. An entire insurrection. That is what this is. Star Wars Sexplained is an insurrectionist.
And for the people in the comments that already started typing, why can't you talk about Star Wars without making it political? Save it. Andor is not being subtle. Star Wars as a whole has never been subtle. The Clone Wars says, embrace others for their differences, for that makes you whole. Star Wars wants us to reject the idea of one single normal and instead asks us to embrace those around us and to celebrate those differences.
He is in full support, but do you think he's going to go out to LA and protest with them? No, he's going to stay at home with his dog and his dog's going to lick his nutsack. That's what he's going to do. So you got a few comments on here. Thank you for both using your massive platform. Appreciate you both always. But a lot of the comments here are missing. And why is that? Because they hid the comments. Don't do this, please. Star Wars Sexplained hid this comments. This is literally so ignorant. There was no massacre in Los Angeles. You guys don't live here and have no nuanced grasp of the situation. I know all you think about all day is Star Wars because it's your job, but this is incredibly disrespectful to the residents here. In case you were wondering why they are comparing this to Andor, in the later part of Season 2 of Andor, there was a massacre on the planet Ghorman started by the Empire. The Empire spent a lot of time orchestrating an insurrection from the inside so they could blame the people of Ghorman and take them out. That is what Sexplained says that the US government is doing or will be doing. And this guy right here is saying, this is literally so ignorant. It is ignorant. What do you think, the Trump administration has planned this? That they want? people to be protesting right now over their enforcement of illegal immigration laws? No. How would this benefit them in any way? The Trump administration has sent in the National Guard to deal with this problem, and Star Wars Sexplained is comparing this to a shit-ass Disney Star Wars show that had horrible ratings and clearly lost money.
They're going to find people who are, yes, on the planet illegally without a visa, but those people are also welcome parts of the community, even vital parts of the community. It's just like what's going on in America, and not just the past few months, although it certainly seemed worse as of late, but undocumented workers help keep so many industries going, and yet all too many people will call them all criminals or leeches or have the gall to call them lazy. And I'm not saying there are no violent criminals who are undocumented in America, there certainly are, but the people in power seem to want to paint that entire group with the same brush, which seems ridiculous except for the fact that it often works. To quote The Rise and Fall of the Galactic Empire by Dr. Chris Kimshall, the Empire did not need to convince many people to embrace its ideology, it just had to validate the prejudices they already held and grant them permission to act on them.
I love Star Wars, please don't bring today's politics into it. If I want to be lectured or stressed out, I'd watch the news. I watch and read Star Wars to relax. Please don't bring today's politics into Star Wars. Yeah, I forgot to unfollow this cornball. Thanks for reminding me, because once again, you all don't know what you're talking about. Well, I don't know why you were following them to begin with, but it's good that you're unfollowing them now. Let's not do this. Let's not do this. What was so wrong with this person saying, don't do this, please, and let's not do this? Let's ask Alex Damon and Molly Damon. They're so soft that they couldn't have this on the timeline. I guess because this had 41 likes, 62 likes. This one had 163 likes. And then it gets worse. You guys never speak about Israel being the empire. And then Star Wars Sexplained replies, Free Palestine. Free Palestine! Didn't Gina Carano get canceled for anti-Semitic tweets that was completely fake news? Star Wars Sexplained is not only a domestic terrorist, Star Wars Sexplained is an anti-Semite. I'm just wondering how Star Wars Sexplained gets away with this kind of behavior online, when in some cases it's not tolerated at all. So I tweeted this out. Fresh off their trip to Lucasfilm and Skywalker Ranch, Star Wars Sexplained is encouraging the insurrection in LA. Where should Disney send them next? Hashtag send Molly to Palestine. Let's make this happen. Let's send Molly Damon to Palestine. Molly Damon wouldn't last 2 minutes in Palestine. They don't like the gays and they don't like women. Yet they show for Palestine just as much as they do for Disney. These people don't live in reality. And you might be saying, Dark Melvin, there's some horrible stuff going on in Israel and Palestine with all the people dying and the governments. You got people like this who are totally on Sexplained's side. Abolish ICE, abolish the police, abolish Israel, abolish the US. At the end of the day, they just don't like the US. They don't. All these people with different flags in their profile, Palestine, Ukraine, you name it. They should all just leave if they don't like the United States. And here it is right here. Look at the profile. She, her pronouns, anti-capitalist, anti-imperial, free Palestine, communist. This person is a communist. And look who is following this account. Alyssa Wong, High Republic author, they, them pronouns. Kristen Baver on the Star Wars show.
Where are my fellow Star Wars publishing fans at?
Phil Stozak, Lucasfilm Creative Art Manager. Jordan Mason, big friend of the Sexplains. Dan Star Wars Centralized, Jacob's boyfriend. And here's something I noticed about the tweet. Check out the replies. Coward turned off replies. these people know they're losing the information wars. Star Wars Sexplain, thanks for the share. They're happy that they shared this out. Got an extra 12,000 views. Ah yes, we love a good closed comment section. Again, Sexplain, thanks for the share. I mean, this got 1.6 million views and it's still going. Molly Damon. LOL, so many mad little snowflakes that I turned off comments for people we don't follow and are just retweeting and sharing and helping our visibility. Thanks. Laughing emoji. Laughing at how much engagement this is getting. 1.6 million views. And Molly Damon is the last person to be calling someone a snowflake. They are hiding comments. And I'm going to rip them apart for it on a Knights of Melvin tweet. Molly Damon laughing and calling people snowflakes. Star Wars Sexplained is hiding comments on Twitter and Instagram. Yeah, they're snowflakes. They hid comments on Twitter and they hid comments on Instagram. You will lose time and time again because of the shitty comparisons. Trump is and never will be the empire. The terrorist insurrection is not a peaceful Ghorman protest. You have been brainwashed. Don't ever compare the empire to our republic. Nobody is getting publicly executed or tortured, so I don't want to fucking hear it. Bro, just post fucking Star Wars content. That's what we're here for. And don't try to be a political snowflake. Now stay on the topic at hand. Breaking news, liberals riot over illegal criminals being deported. Star Wars Sexplain hid that comment. The Gore wasn't illegal immigrants though, and they didn't start a riot. Those people were innocent. What a clown channel, and it's sad to see the downfall of this channel. Looks like you have chosen mental illness, nonsense, and lies. Those people are criminals. That's why they are targeted. So you're telling me criminals shouldn't be dealt with? Ever wonder why foreign gangs and domestic terrorist organizations operate in our country? Maybe because these people are the problem. If you watched Andor, you know what's happening right now. Deporting people who are in a country illegally and massacring a group of people to strip mine their planet are so drastically different, you can't even logically find a correlation. Dumbest post of the year nominee. And I do think that's a good point. We might have to nominate them for the SHILL Awards. Worst quote. You are fools if you think the riots are an appropriate response to the federal government enforcing the U.S. Constitution and federal law. The enforcement of the Immigration and Nationality Act of 1952, Title 8 of the U.S. Code, is fully constitutional and appropriate. You are supporting crime and inherently showing that the republic that our Constitution created means nothing to you. Crime and illegal immigration cannot be allowed to win. Your supporting of illegal immigration is a slap in the face to families like mine and families that are still waiting and struggling through the legal immigration system because they choose to do what is right and follow the law as good people do. You are no patriot. They are no patriots. They wave the flags of foreign nations that they don't want to get deported back to, the nations they are citizens of. Shame on you and shame on your supporters for supporting such villainy in Los Angeles. So this person is an immigrant, and Star Wars Sexplained is discriminating against this immigrant and hiding their comments, silencing them. They don't have a voice. You only have a voice if you say what we want to hear. And if you think it wasn't bad enough, this isn't even an original tweet. If you watched Andor, you know what's going on in Los Angeles right now. They stole it from John Pavlovitz. On June 7th, 2 days before, if you watched Andor, you know what's going on right now in Los Angeles. Word for word. And they added the picture, but they saw that this got 603,000 views. They even reposted it, and they're like, you know what? We can take this tweet and we can make it our own. And that's what they did. And you see the evidence. They are boasting about how much views it's getting and thanking people for sharing it. Thanks for the share. Thanks for the share. Star Wars Sexplained is encouraging domestic terrorism in Los Angeles. And I am just wondering, how is Disney going to respond to this? I imagine it's probably going to be very similar to how they responded to fake news Kyle Katarn, advocating for destruction of private property, destroying a Cybertruck. But I don't know, this is on a much larger scale. There are actually riots happening, and they are including Disney Star Wars and using that as communist propaganda. Telling everyone that these riots, these protests, burning of buildings, looting stores, that it's all justified. This is disgusting behavior.
While I'm speaking from the American experience here, I know this is an issue around the world. My point is that there are refugees who have fled terrible circumstances who just want to rebuild their lives and find some semblance of peace, but they can't because they have to live their lives in fear even over the most basic, boring events. And I know this is a complex issue, and there are matters of taxation, infrastructure, housing, and a ton of other things to consider, but while those things are considered, shouldn't we be treating those people with compassion rather than disdain? Shouldn't we be looking to help instead of looking for a reason to give people the boot the first chance we get? Shouldn't we remember what's inscribed on the Statue of Liberty? Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free, the wretched refuse of your teeming shore. Send these, the homeless, the tempest-tossed to me.
Who gave that right to me, and I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA.
At last we will reveal ourselves to the shills. At last we will have revenge.
Damn well sure we'll avenge it.
The dark side of the Force is a pathway to many abilities some consider to be unnatural.